going to be reading this story today, and we're going to be learning about how to retell a story using the beginning, middle, and the end. Say that with me. Say beginning, middle, and end. And the name of the story is the Seven Sillies. Look at that picture. What do you see in that picture? Araceli, what do you see in that picture? See a pig? What do you see, Sarah?
I see like a rabbit. One rabbit.
You see a rabbit? What do you see, Rachel?
I see a hen.
You see a hen. And what about you, Daniel?
A sheep.
A sheep. And Kayla?
I see a little tiny mouse on the pig.
You see a mouse on the pig's head? Maggie, do you see something in the picture?
I see a ram.
Okay, yeah. What do you think this story might be about? Let's just kind of look at the picture, the setting. The setting, do you know what setting means, Sarah? What does setting mean? About you, Araceli, do you know what the setting means? Maggie, can you help them?
It's the place where it's going on.
So, the place that the story is happening. Look at this picture. Where do you think this story is happening? Kayla, you think a farm? Araceli, what about you? What do you think? You think it's on a farm? Sarah?
A little city.
Okay.
It's like a house.
You see some houses in the background, but it is actually, if you look at this picture, this is kind of a windmill, and this is a farm. See how the little has a windmill and a farmhouse, and this is like a pasture.
And there's a gate.
And there's a gate. You see, everybody put your finger on the gate in the picture. See the gate? And here's the windmill, and then there's the farmhouse. So this is happening on a farm. And what is the pig doing in this picture? Daniel, do you know what he's doing? He's looking at the water. Regis, what does he see in the water?
His reflection.
His reflection? What's a reflection?
It means it's you see your shadow and the light shine on something that's clear through, and you can see your shadow.
You
in
see
front of
a
you.
picture of yourself in the water. He can see a picture of himself in the water.
It's kind of like a mirror.
Very good. Where else do we see a reflection? Regis?
We can see it in a mirror.
In a mirror. Everybody say reflection.
Reflection.
And I want you to look in the mirror and say, I see my reflection.
I see my reflection.
Okay, pass it on.
I see my reflection.
I see my reflection.
I see my reflection. I see my reflection. I see my reflection.
Very good. Say that word again. Reflection.
Reflection.
Okay, one more time. Reflection.
Reflection.
Very good. So, does anybody want to make a prediction about what this story might be about? We've seen a farm. We've seen a pig. And he is looking at his reflection. Let me turn that radio off. Hold that thought right there. Okay. Sarah, what do you think might happen in the story? What do you want to predict?
I think the pig is going to go in the water.
You think he's going to go in the water?
Animals.
With the other animals?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Anybody else want to make a prediction? Kayla?
I think they're probably gonna the 7 animals are gonna be silly since it says the 7 silly.
They're going to be silly? What does it mean to be silly? What does it mean, Araceli, to be silly? Funny, to be funny. Okay, well let's start reading. We're going to put our finger under the first word and we're going to read this together. Before we do that, I forgot, let's talk about the author who wrote it, Joyce Dunbar, and it was illustrated by Chris Downing. And illustrated means what? Where he just drew the pictures. Okay. Now let's. That's right. We illustrated our own book with America Beautiful. All right. Let's start reading. Our finger under the first word. On a bright and shiny morning, Pig looked into the pond. There's a pig in the pond, said Pig. Such a handsome pig. So he saw himself in the water. Okay, let's go to the next page. And Pig called over to Sheep. Now he said there was a pig in the water. Does he know what he saw? No. Let's turn and see. What do you see in the pond? Asked Pig. I see a pig and a sheep, answered Sheep. Such a beautiful sheep. And Sheep called over to Goat. Turn the page. What do you see in the pond? Asked Sheep. I see a pig and a sheep and a goat, answered Goat. Such a gorgeous goat. And stop right there. What does gorgeous mean? That's a big word, gorgeous. Sarah?
Pretty?
Pretty, yes. Gorgeous and pretty, those are what kind of words? Kayla?
Antonym?
And that's close, but not the
Synonyms.
synonym. They mean about the same. Very good, very good. You are very smart. So what is happening so far in this story? What do you think is happening? Regis?
So far, they're seeing a reflection, but they think there's an animal in the water. They don't know it's their reflection.
They think there's animals in the water. Okay, let's keep going and see what happens. And Goat called over to Rabbit. Turn the page. What do you see in the pond? Asked Goat. I see a pig and a sheep and a goat and a rabbit, answered Rabbit. Such a splendid rabbit. Let's keep going. And Rabbit called over to Hen. What do you see in the pond? Asked Rabbit. I see a pig and a sheep and a goat and a rabbit and a hen, said Hen. Such a fine feathered hen. And Hen called over to Mouse. Now all the animals that we saw are coming over. And if you look on the page, you can see some more pictures of the farm. What is this little thing in the background called? Does anybody know what that man is called? Sarah?
A scarecrow.
A scarecrow? What does a scarecrow do? Think about it. Araceli? He stands still. But why is his name Scarecrow? That sounds kind of a scary name. Why is his name Scarecrow, Daniel?
Like scare away birds.
To scare away the birds. Why does the farmer want to scare birds away, Maggie?
So they won't eat his crops.
So they won't eat his food. That's right.
And their seeds.
He's not really trying to be mean to them. He just wants them not to eat the food, the seeds, or the food that's growing. Turn the page. What do you see in the pond? Asked Hen. I see a pig and a sheep and a goat and a rabbit and a hen and a mouse, said Mouse. Such a dear little mouse. And Mouse called over to Frog. What do you see in the pond? see 7 sillies in the pond. What's he mean? What? Kayla, what do you think?
I think they're all being silly since they think since they think all of them are in the pond, the same animals are in the pond, and Frog thinks that it's not the animals that are in the pond.
Okay, so Frog, maybe he knows. Let's find out. 7 sillies, asked the pig, and the sheep, and the goat, and the rabbit, and the hen, and the mouse. What do you mean? They all said. What do you mean? They are all in the pond, and they want to get out, said Frog. How can we get them out? Uh-oh, now Frog has told them they're in there and they're trying to get out? Oh, what is Frog doing? What do you think he's doing?
I think he's tricking them.
You think he might be tricking them?
You're trying to trick them to get wet.
Would that be funny? No?
It would.
Sometimes friends try to trick each other to be playing, not to be mean. But let's see what happens. You will have to jump in and fetch them, answered Frog. Oh, he is telling them to get in. Let's see. So the pig and the sheep and the goat and the rabbit and the hen and the mouse all jumped into the water with a splash. Look at that, they're all in the water. What do you think is going to happen next? What is going to happen?
I think they're wet.
Now they're wet. You think they're wet, Maggie? Regis? Okay, let's turn and see. There is nothing in the pond after all, they said. Look at all them. They're just like, what? We're in the pond. There's nothing in here. Turn the page. Oh, yes, there is, laughed Frog. There is a handsome pig, a beautiful sheep, a gorgeous goat, a splendid rabbit, a fine feathered hen, a dear little mouse, and that makes 7 sillies. The animals scrambled out of the pond, all sopping and dripping with water. They did feel very silly. Then, how many sillies? Asked Pig. 7, said Frog. Pig began to count. The other animals joined in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The only one left was Frog. Aha! They all laughed. 7 sillies. So there were 7 sillies. Okay, Lois. We see a frog that can't count, they said. Such a silly frog. So why did they say Frog couldn't count?
It was 5. There was actually 7, but he didn't count
He
himself.
forgot to count himself, and he was in the water already. He was sitting on the lily pad.
Lily pad, I've seen those. Those are very pretty and they're fragile.
Okay, what we're going to do now is with your partner, you each are going to have a dry erase board, and I'm going to give you one part of the story, and you're going to go back and kind of talk about the story, and you're going to write down what you remember from the beginning. So Maggie and Araceli, you're going to do the beginning of the story, things